I love the theater, and I love theatricality. My name is Charles Pasternak. I'm an actor out of Los Angeles. I'm a guest artist here at the theater, and I'm playing Marplot, the titular character in The Busybody. And there are two love stories between our two young ladies and our two young men, and Marplot sort of is the go-between. He goes between the two older households and each of the couples, and he screws everything up. And in the wonderful sort of Restoration tradition, his name means what he is, and he mars the plot time and again. But he really does mean well, and as a sort of deviation from the fops of the time, he's not a sort of sexual character, and he's not involved in a sort of ridiculous wooing of his own. He is simply deeply obsessed with knowing every possible secret, which gets him into trouble and gets his friends and confederates into trouble as well.
My role in The Busybody is Miranda, and my story is Miranda is an orphan, and she is under protection of her guardian, who has all of her money, and she doesn't get any of this money until she turns 25. She's 18 at the time of the play, and she wants to marry a man she loves, Sir George Airy. And she can't do that without getting her fortune, which is hers by right, by law, until she gets consent from her guardian. So she tricks her guardian into thinking she's in love with him.
You know, my father's will says I am not to possess my estate without your consent until I'm 25. Just subtract 7 years and make me mistress of my estate today, and I'll make you master of my person tomorrow.
That may not be safe. No, Chargy, I'll give you some as an allowance.
Bribe me with my own money. Which way shall I get out of his hands?
Well, what art thou thinking on, my girl? How to banter with Sir George?
I must not pretend to banter. Sir George knows my tongue too well. No, Guardy, I have thought of a way will confound him more than all I could say.
How's that? Ow! I'm transported, I'm ravished, I'm mad.
It would make you mad if you knew all. I'll not answer him one word, but be dumb to all he says.
Dumb! Good! Excellent! Well, she is the wittiest rogue. Dumb!
This play was written by Susanna Sontlever, who is one of the most prolific and successful playwrights of the 18th century. I think it made a very big difference that she wrote as a woman. She took her own experience of marriage and marriage law, her experience as an actress on the stage, and her knowledge of the way that ideas about liberty and personal authority were starting to change. And I think all of those things come out in her comedies.
One of my favorite asides is the one that you have in that first scene when you go out when you go to the audience, and I only remember the end of it, but it's about a woman finding a way to break them.
Yeah.
What is the?
I'm talking about your father.
Yeah.
Let the tyrant man make what laws he will. If there's a woman under his government, I warrant she'll find a way to break him.
Every time I hear that line, and especially the way that Charlotte's delivering it to the audience, I'm like, this. Not only that, but this woman is also telling you exactly how we're going to do this. Like, are you guys that dumb? We are laying it all out for you at the very beginning. We're gonna win.
Yeah.
To me, that moment really rings true. That like, yes, this is a woman's voice, a strong, smart woman's voice, not just a woman trying to get back at a man or a woman trying to find love. It's to get what she feels that she deserves out of this life. Out of this whole life.
You get a best friend. In those moments, you are best friends with the audience member, and you're sharing something personal for you that the rest of these people don't understand. So it's a visceral connection that you make with the audience member and bring them into your story. But then having, the hundreds of people there, and finding a different person each time was like a really awesome acting experience as well, to be able to keep track of everyone and yourself and the story that's still going on. I love it, and it's so great to see the real recognition in the audience member's face when you were speaking to them, and yeah, like a little secret between you was blossoming.
Sir, the devil! Whisper here again. That fellow never speaks out. Is this the same or a new secret? Sir George, won't you ask Charles what news Whisper brings?
Not I, sir. I suppose it does not relate to me.
No. How little curiosity some people have. Now my chief pleasure lies in knowing everybody's business.
The times that we get to speak to the audience in asides, in some ways I feel like those are the most me moments too, where you actually get to drop out of the action that's on the stage and have, or at least attempt to have a connection, a true connection with somebody who isn't in the play's action with you. So I really appreciate the opportunity to not only play for them, but to them and with them in those asides.
I hate a fourth wall. The audience is the other character in the play. They're necessary. It would be stupid to perform in front of an empty house, so why do we pretend that they're not there? They're vital. And so to play in a show in which it is so direct that we are addressing them and constantly opening up to invite them to be a part of the story. I mean, it's helpful that it's a comedy. Always in comedy, there will be more of that because the laughter is there and a sort of direct mark of your success or failure. That engagement is wonderful and it's exciting, and I think that audiences love it. They can go to the movies. They could stay home and watch Netflix. What we can give them in the theater is an active experience with live people in front of them.
See, madam, a faithful servant kneels and begs to be admitted in the number of your slaves.
Hold. No palming. That's contrary to articles.
Keep your distance, sir, or I'll write another article in your guts.
A bloody-minded fellow.
She'll not answer me. Perhaps she thinks my dress too grave. I'll be more free. View me well, madam. Am I not a proper, handsome fellow? Can you prefer that old, dry, withered, sapless log of 65 to the vigorous, gay, sprightly love of 24? With snoring only he'll awake thee. But I, with ravishing delight, would make thy senses dance. Not yet a word. Sure she is done. Thus would I touch thy beauteous hand, till by degrees I reached thy snowy breast.
Oh heavens, I shall not be able to contain myself!
What does she mean she won't answer me? Or is she afraid yon old cuff should understand her signs? I'll suppose your mind then and answer for you. First, as for myself, that I love you is an infallible truth. Now for you. Indeed, sir! May I believe it? As certainly, madam, as that 'tis daylight. Oh, bless me with the music of your voice, and raise my spirits to their proper heaven. Thus low, let me entreat. Why, sir, and since my guardian's presence does not allow me privilege of tongue, read this letter, and rest assured, you are not indifferent to me.
What's that, a letter?
Oh, a letter? For me? Oh, let me kiss it with the same raptures that I would do the dear hand that touched it. Mwah! Now for some improvisation. Why, what's here? Dear Sir George, this virgin muse I consecrate to you, which, when it has received the addition of your voice to a charming to desire of liberty to love, which you, and only you, can fix. Oh, my angel! You transport me. The god of love has said the verse already, and I am inspired with a voice to sing it.
I'm sure thou art inspired with impudence enough.
Great love inspiring, say I'll admire him. Give me the lover that can discover secret devotion, silent motion. Then don't betray me, but hence convey me.
Inspiration for the design of Busybody came from very early discussions with the director, where he told me that we need to stick with 18th century scenery, which was kind of tricky because we do not really have visual records of scenery from 18th century. I came across some amazing material from different theater museums, from Berlin, from Amsterdam, and a couple of others that really showed us the way the technology at the time worked. Pulley systems that they used, we used that, but created the movement of pulley systems, stage left, stage right. We use track system now to just show that kind of movement. Also, my favorite part of the set were the periactoi that are upstage, 3 of them, and rotating at the same, when they rotate at the same time. It's just one of the best feelings that I had since I ever designed anything. And I think the audience responds to that. And I doubt that most of our audience had a chance to see that kind of thing. I've never seen it. I've seen it in pictures and drawings, but never live. So it's just an amazing experience just to know and explore new things.
The play started in 1709, and it had a good early run. But the play really took off in London when it moved to a theater called Lincoln's Inn Fields. And that was around 1717. This theater, which we've used as our model for the set in this production of The Busybody, had a lot of musicians on staff. It had a system of movable flats that were grooved that would have allowed for the kinds of scene changes that we're using in this production. And all of those musicians came in handy when it was time to change the set, because their music would cover up the sound of scraping as the flats came on and off.
Sir, here's a couple of gentlemen inquire for you. One of them calls himself Signor Don Diego Barbanetto.
Signor Don Diego Barbanetto? Admit him instantly. Joyful minute! I shall have my daughter married tonight.
In the story, there's so many references to money and very incredible wealth, and I think these costumes truly reflect that. It's amazing what they did with these costumes and that embroidery machine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it totally helps put you in the mindset.
Every time period has a style, and those styles are dictated by so many elements, and the physicality is the center of it. And it's about the costumes, which we were lucky enough to try on and start working with early. It has to do with how people held their bodies.
Oh man, the men's costumes. Well, I mean, just like our costumes, they are absolutely stunning. They are beautifully constructed. The way Marianne has almost color coordinated all of us, so we all have hints of each other, both in what we're wearing, to help the audience, as well as, in my opinion, help me, finding that connection with people on stage. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think All of them look fantastic. It's probably the most they've ever cared about their appearance
Yeah.
all
Gentlemen.
semester long.
Clothing of the period, 18th century, kept people, I would say, more constricted. You know, if you've got a corset on, you certainly can't slump. Perforce, you're going to be more erect. I would contrast that with the contemporary period in which we are less erect. Men wore waistcoats, so you certainly didn't want to rumple the waistcoat in any way, so that would keep you more erect.
When we have someone putting us in the costume, it's kind of a downer feeling your organs start like shutting up into themselves. And then again, it reminds you of how resilient these women were to still go after what they wanted while barely being able to breathe. You know, a lot of restrictions put on them by their clothes and their situation, but still finding ways to be graceful and enjoy yourself within the corset.
They put these on us, at like almost 7:30 at night. We're in them for maybe 3 hours. And to think of women who were in them all day. Eating, drinking, going
Dancing,
places.
yeah.
It was just, I find that to be like resilience. And John also is a fabulous movement teacher, so he was so helpful in how we actually move about the space. And I felt like it just, once we got the clothes on, we were like, oh, I totally get it now.
Yeah.
Like all of it made sense. Why he likes the movement to be a certain way. And especially in those clothes, it all adds up, and it all seems like that's the world. That was the world.
And again, in the restrictions, there is power. Like when I put on this costume, I feel powerful, even though there is, because you're backed up too. You know, like there's like a reinforcement of your strength with this thing holding you in. I still, you feel sexy as well.
Well, if you can't eat, then give me a song whilst I do.
Oh, I have such a cold that I can scarce speak, sir, much less sing. How shall we prevent Charles coming in?
Well, I hope you have use of your fingers, madam. Play a tune upon your spinet whilst your woman sings me a song.
I'm as much out of tune as my lady, if he knew all. Yes, sir, I shall make excellent music. Really, sir, I'm so frightened about your opening this charm that I can't remember one song.
Pish, hang your charm. Come, sing anything.
I can't raise my voice, my heart pants so.
What, does your heart pant so that you can't play neither? Pray, what key will you play in, huh?
I cannot play, sir, whatever ails me.
So, sit down and play me a tune, or I'll break the spinet about your ears.
What will become of me?
Well, you were atop of the house and you were down in the cellar. What is the meaning of it? Is it on purpose to cross me, huh?
Pray, madam, take it a little lower. I cannot reach that note, nor any note, I fear. Well, begin.
Music and singing, oh, 'tis thus the bright celestial court above beguiles the hours with music and with love. There! Her father! There! There I must fly!
Oh, fury's a man in the bedroom! The devil! I'll make a ghost of him, I warrant you!
Oh, sir, have a care. You'll tread upon my lady. This comes of your opening the charm.
I'll charm you, hussif. Here lies the charm that conjured this man in, I'm sure on it. Come out, you rascal! Do so!
My name is John Sipes. I'm the director of the Busybody. I'm also responsible in this production for teaching the actors how to move in period style, in the period of the 18th century.
John Sipes, our director, who is a movement expert in the truest sense, and I would say one of the last around that has his kind of expertise on this kind of style. The specificity with which we get to work in this and with John is one of the truly great blessings.
Clearly the movement in the 18th century was more formal. There was a certain degree of artifice to it, although the dancing masters constantly spoke about executing the artifice of the time with a kind of naturalness. So I think there was this sense of the vertical, of moving with grace and ease, and a kind of coordination that we may not have now.
If he gets out before me, I shall lose him again. Come, sir! Dispatch me the money, sir! I'm in a mighty haste.
Fool, take this and go to the cashier. I shan't be long plagued with it.
Devil take the cashier! I shall certainly have Charles gone before I come back again.
The head is on top of a vertical neck, not stiff. The shoulders, they were generally referred to the shoulders as being pressed back, which we don't speak about so much now, but at any rate it was to expand the chest and give a sense of grace and ease. We would move to the bow. And rather than in restoration, where the foot would sweep around in a big circle, somewhat more affected in that period, to go backwards. In this century, 18th century, we just step back, which then allows the foot to be like so. Most of the guys were wearing heels, so that would have been off the ground. But you can see, as I step back, and if I keep my leg extended, the heel's off the ground somewhat. You also see my calf. Calves were very important at that point. One wanted to show a good leg, and so if one is wearing hose, this would very much flex the calf, so we would see a little bit more muscle in the calf. So, first of all, the bow of this period, we step back and move forward. Now, a couple of options here. I like it particularly when the knees are slightly bent. I think that's a little bit more elegant. It engages the legs a bit more. The muscles are flexed here, so I think that's a little bit stronger and more manly, if you would. And the bow, the degree of the bow, of the bending forward, can vary according to the person and who you're bowing to. So I don't like to encourage a very deep bow, but we see Charles Pasternak as Marplot in our production do that quite a bit. But he's more fop-like, affected, so we've allowed that sort of thing to happen. The use of the hands, the hands can be right at the side as I described, or there's a gesture that we see very often, and I think we don't often know where it comes from. It's this kind of gesture here. But the source is very interesting. It comes from kissing one's hand and then offering the hand to the person that you're bowing to. So in time, it simply looked like this. So it feels somewhat decorative. But when you know where it came from, I think that makes a difference. Let's talk about curtsies. Most of the curtsies of that period would have been either in a first position, like so, or a second position. The feet could really be in any number of ways because mostly they were covered. So I prefer that the body, or that the female, just allow the body to sink like so, and with a slight incline of the head like this, as opposed to this, which I think is not very elegant. So it's just an easy descent like this with a slight incline of the head. Now, a curtsy that is far more elegant than what I just described, and it really is from a later period, but I do like to use it, and it's like this. The leg goes all the way behind, and we can go all the way to the ground like so. And that, particularly when there are large skirts being worn, is really, really quite beautiful.
There is an element of merging the time within it was written with the time within which it's being performed. For example, young Charles and Isabinda, two of our young lovers, in a scene where he sort of sneaks up to see her, they touch each other a lot. I think stylistically, in period, that would be wrong. I don't think they would, and if they did, perhaps it's a little modern. I say that without criticism. I think their scene is beautiful, and I think it's a blending of the energy they brought into the room, of John's taste, because he held them back on certain things but allowed others. He wasn't obsessed with the conservatism of the time, but he also doesn't want to be modern. It's that beautiful artistic blending that happens in the moment. We're doing this play right now with this audience, and this is the blend we find. And sometimes you get it wrong, that's art, and sometimes you get it right. I think we got it right.
Then I and my fortune are free to go.
Oh, madam! Me master and Mr. Marplot are just coming into the house!
I'm done. If he finds you here, all my plots are unraveled!
Oh, what shall I do? Can't I get back into the garden?
Oh, no! He comes up those stairs!
Here! Can you condescend to stand behind this chimney board, Sir George?
Anyway, dear madam, without ceremony.
Come, Sir Marplot!
I could not go, though 'tis upon life and death, without taking leave of dear Chargy. Besides, this fellow buzzed in my ears that thou mightst be so desperate as to shoot that wild rake that haunts the garden gate, and that would bring us into trouble, dear.
So, Marplot brought you back then. I'm much obliged to him for that, I'm sure.
By her looks, she means she is not obliged to me. I have done some mischief now, but what? I can't imagine.
Well, Chargy, I have had 3 messengers to go all the way to Epsom to my neighbor Squeezums, whom for all his vast riches is departing us.
Oh.
But Chargy, I'll be with thee tomorrow before those pretty eyes are open. I'll rouse you if here, Mr. Sedgwick, lift up your lady's chimney board that I may throw my peel in and not litter her chamber.
Oh, please, sir, give it me! I love it above all things in nature. Indeed I do.
Now, hussy.
Hold! Dear Gardy, I have a monkey! Shut up in there! And if you open it before the man comes, it is to tame it. 'Tis so wild, 'twill break all my china or get away, and that would break my heart, for I'm bound up to distraction next to thee, dear Gardy.
Well, Chargy, I won't open it. She shall have her monkey, dear poor rogue. Here, throw this peel out of the window.
A monkey, dear madam! Let me see it! I can tame a monkey as well as the best of them all! Oh, I love the little miniatures, man!
Be quiet, mischief, and stand farther from the chimney. Nay, you shall not see my monkey, why sure!
Oh, for heaven's sake, dear madam, let me but peep to see if it be as pretty as my Lady Biddle Battles. Has it got a chain?
Not yet, but I will make it one shall last a lifetime. Nay, you shall not see it! Look, Gardy, how he teases me!
Sirrah, let my Chargy's monkey alone, or bamboo shall fly about your ears. Is there no dealing with you?
Pooh! Pooh's on the monkey! Here's a rout! I hope he may rival you!
Sir, they put 2 more horses on the coach as you ordered, and it is ready at the door.
Well, I'm going to be Squeezum's executor. Better for thee, Jewel. Bye, Chargy. One bus. I'm glad thou hast a monkey to divert thee a little.
Thank you, dear Gardy. Nay, I'll see you to the coach.
Oh, that's kind, a dog.
Come along, impertinence.
Egad, I will see the monkey.
Show me instantly or cut your throat!
I'm done! And that door there! But hold! Break that china!
Mercy on me, what's the matter?
No great harm! I beg of you to forgive me. Longing to see the monkey, I did but just open the board, and it flew over my shoulders, scratched on my face, broke yon china, and whisked out of the window.
Was ever such an unlucky rogue?